Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. I am really excited for today's video. We are going to be talking about unexpected makeup failures. I originally saw this video done by Julia Musicato, who I absolutely love her channel. I will have her link down below as well as her video. So definitely go check her out. And I just thought it was such a fun concept. So essentially today we're talking about products that I thought from the bottom of my heart I was absolutely going to love, and then they just didn't end up working for me for one reason or another. I have 9 products to share with you guys today, 9 unexpected failures. So if you're excited about this video, then stay tuned. But first, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I do hope you'll consider subscribing before you go today. Other than that, let's just jump into these makeup failures. Okay, so I'm going to start with Complexion products. And this one I was so excited to purchase. I remember Samantha March had, I think, received these in PR and was raving about these. And this is the Ofra Rays of Light Primer. I thought that I was absolutely going to love this. I used my like sacred saved up Ulta points on purchasing this. And this was $18 too, so I thought it was a really good price. And I thought I was gonna fall in love with it and it was gonna be my new favorite primer. It's supposed to be a primer that like kind of bronzes the skin up. I don't know how well you'll be able to see on camera, but this literally like melts away into nothing really. Like it doesn't bronze up the skin. It doesn't make the skin a deeper shade. It's not like the Drunk Elephant De-Bronzy Serum, nothing like that, which I was expecting it to be kind of a lesser expensive version of that. So I was very disappointed that it didn't do that for me. And then on top of that, I just don't think it's a very good primer. It has a little bit of a tack to it, but I don't notice that my makeup lasts any longer when I use this. It does provide like a slight luminosity to the skin, but if you're going over it with foundation, it's nothing that's going to make a difference or like shine through your foundation. So for me, this was a big bust, and I was so excited when I first purchased this. Definitely a failure on my end. Next, I have a powder to talk about, and I really started to get into makeup powders over the course of 2019, and I had heard lots of positive reviews on the Milk Makeup Blur. I think the Milk Makeup Translucent Light. I thought that this was somehow Blur and Set Matte Loose Setting Powder. So again, I had heard Samantha March kind of rave about this and talk about how it looked really good underneath her eyes, did a nice job of blurring the skin, and that really had me intrigued. I waited months and months and months before purchasing this, but finally bit the bullet and purchased this, and boy was I let down. This just feels very heavy on the skin. Even when I set it with like MAC Fix Plus, it just doesn't look natural. And not to say like powders look natural, but it just feels and looks very heavy on the skin. On the under eyes, it looks a little bit crepey on my like dry under eyes. So this is just not something that really worked for me. And I remember I had been going back and forth on whether or not I wanted to get this one or the Lawless Beauty setting powder. And I think because I was between the two and then this one just didn't work out, it just felt like almost a double whammy. So this is one again that I was really expecting to love just because I had seen so many positive reviews about this one, and I just didn't really notice the blurring effects that I was hearing about. And again, it just looked so heavy on the skin, or at least on my skin personally, that this just did not work for me and was definitely a failure in my opinion. 2 foundations that I have to mention. The first is the Wander Beauty Nude Illusion Foundation. I thought that this was going to become my new staple ride or die foundation. I had heard many reviews talking about how this was super lightweight on the skin. It made the skin, like, it gave good amount of coverage, but still looked very healthy and natural and lightweight. And I will say, I have it on today. It does feel lightweight. It's not a foundation that feels heavy on the skin. However, I do notice it settles really bad into my fine lines and wrinkles, specifically in my forehead. So I have to be very careful about making sure that I set my forehead lines specifically very well. And then this is also just a little bit more mattifying than I had originally anticipated. It still leaves the skin, especially if you like glow it up with some glowier products, it still leaves the skin looking like healthy and not quite as flat. But I just feel like it makes my skin look a little bit aged. It sort of settles into my pores, and unless I am powdering this, I just do not love the way that this looks, which was such a bummer because I was so excited to purchase this. Kathleen Lights was raving about this, Samantha March was raving about this, and usually I love products that both of them recommend, but unfortunately this did not turn into the love that I thought it was going to. And then the other foundation I have to mention is this one from Fenty. This is the Fenty Pro Filter Hydrating Longwear Foundation. I love Fenty Beauty as a brand, but for so long I had been avoiding the Pro Matte foundation that she had. So when I heard that she was releasing a hydrating foundation, I was beyond excited. I knew I was gonna pick this up right away. What I do love about this foundation is the shade range is incredible, and I feel like this shade matches me really well. I have the shade 150. What I don't love about this foundation is I feel like it's almost too hydrating in a sense of it just settles in again to fine lines and wrinkles way too easily. It makes me look a little bit more aged, sinks into pores a little bit weird, and then also even powdered, sometimes I just don't love the way that the powder clings to this foundation. I don't know, there's just something about it that I do not love. I've considered decluttering this or trying to pass this along or sell it on Poshmark, but then there's that other part of me that really wants to make this work. A part of me wants to buy the Pro Filter mattifying foundation and mix the two together and see if I would like it, but I've just heard that the matte version of this is like so matte. I just don't know if it would work. Let me know if you have a favorite way to wear this foundation. I just have not found that favorite way for me to wear it, and I thought that this was truly going to become a new favorite foundation in my collection. So you can imagine I was pretty disappointed when it didn't become that. Okay, another Kathleen Lights recommendation that I even saw her apply this in a video, and I instantly was sold. Instantly logged on to like the Beautylish website and ordered this. This was the Glowgasm Beauty Light Wand. This is like a highlighting blush from Charlotte Tilbury. It does have that very unique applicator where it's like a puff on the end, and then you like squeeze the product out, put it on your cheek and dab it out, and it's supposed to leave your skin with this beautiful flushed pigmentation but also glowy at the same time. I picked mine up, there's 3 different shades. I picked mine up in the shade Peachgasm, and I just feel like every time I put this on my cheeks it blends away into virtually nothing. Like I just feel like I never see it there, and then I'll layer it and layer it, and it just doesn't do what I saw it do on Kathleen. So such a bummer. $38 for this, which is such a high price tag. I thought I was gonna love this. I thought that this was going to change my mind on like liquid and cream blushes, and I was suddenly gonna become this liquid and cream girl. Yeah, not so much. Okay, I have 3 palettes to talk about. The first being the Riviera palette by Anastasia Beverly Hills. I remember when the teasers for this came out, I was so excited. The nautical theme just like had me feeling all the vibes, especially as we were going through like the polar vortex here in Minnesota. And for some reason I just felt like this was gonna make me like a colorful eyeshadow loving gal, and it definitely didn't do that. I was just super let down by this palette. This was the first ABH palette that like truly, I really felt like I could find really no use for this in my collection. I've tried to pan shades throughout this palette throughout multiple projects and no pan, and I just really can't get myself to reach for this at all. Every time I reach in, I'm just like a little bit confused on what I can do with this. So this was a bummer. This was the first palette that made me start to question whether or not I wanted to pick up every release by ABH. And I believe the Jackie Aina palette released right after this, and not Jackie Aina, Alyssa Edwards palette released right after this, and I passed over that because they looked very similar. They were both very vibrant in color, and I just knew I wasn't going to get a ton of use out of that palette. And after being so let down by this one, I just felt like I really did not need to spend the money on the Alyssa Edwards one. So this was definitely a huge letdown. And then in that same vein, I promise I'm not purposely trying to hate on ABH, but I thought the Norvina was going to truly become my favorite of all of the ABH palettes. And this is just kind of like, as far as quality is concerned, a real letdown. I know a lot of people think like the Subculture palette has a lot of quality issues, but for me, the entire top shimmer row just feels very chunky, and I feel like you really need to go in with like a really strong glitter glue to make sure that you're not getting a ton of fallout, and I just don't love the way that the shimmers perform. The mattes perform fine, but sometimes I feel like they oxidize a little bit or just look very different on the eyes than they do in the actual pan. Now I have created some looks out of this that I have really enjoyed, but overall I just think the formula is a little bit of a letdown, especially compared to like Modern Renaissance and Soft Glam. I just think the shimmers are a little bit chunky, and I was really surprised to get that kind of quality from ABH. So this was another one I was expecting to love and was a huge letdown in my opinion. And then the last palette I have to mention, so I did pick this palette up on sort of like a whim, although I had been eyeing it for quite some time. This is the Rustic Glam palette by Dominique Cosmetics, and I'm not gonna lie, the packaging is what really sold me on this, but I did love the color story inside as well, with the exception of a few shades. So I knew I was gonna love this palette specifically for this Wanderlust shade, which I do love this shade. It's a beautiful, beautiful green shimmery shade that I think is absolutely stunning and really just fits like all the green vibes that I was feeling last year. And I thought I could get some really good use out of this palette just due to the fact that it had these very neutral shades that I knew I could wear to work. So I thought I really was gonna like this palette, but what I found is like this shade in particular, I thought would be like a really good all over shade for my lids and my skin tone in particular, but it's a really light shade that takes so much building up. I don't know how this shade would work for someone who is much deeper in complexion than me. Like we're talking like even like light medium. Like I don't know if you could make this shade work for you, or you just aren't gonna get that much pigmentation. I do like these two matte shades, but I do feel like they take building and definitely like blending. Like they're not the most easy to blend. I think they can get a little bit skippy, etc. The Bohemian Gold shade I think is really nice, but gold shimmer shades kind of come at a dime a dozen. Like it's really not that hard to find a good gold shimmer shade. And then these blues with like the sparkle in it, even this purple, just not that impressive. This pink matte I didn't love. Cactus wasn't a huge fan of. So overall I just wasn't that impressed with the quality of this, and this actually was the first Dominique Cosmetics palette that I tried, so I was a little skeptical of her formula after trying this, but thank goodness I purchased the Latte palette and was blown away. The quality is so much better in the Latte palette than the Rustic Glam, so if you're trying to decide on a Dominique Cosmetics palette, I would definitely recommend Latte over this. I've also heard great things about Berries and Cream. I have not personally tried that myself, but this was a bummer. I spent a lot of money on this and was hoping to really fall in love, but just because I only really can get use or feel myself reaching for just a few shades in this palette, it definitely was a bit of a failure for me. And then the very last product that I have to mention to you guys is very new to my collection, but I knew pretty much immediately that this was a failure, and I thought I was gonna love this. I passed this product and I was so excited to purchase this. This is from Buxom. It is their new their new Powerful Plump Lip Balm in the shade Inner Glow, which is just this really nice neutral shade. My gripe with this is that because the actual like product is so large, it's like rubbing a glue stick on your lips. You get product all over your mouth and it looks ridiculous, and it just transfers and it's stupid. So the only way I found that I can use this is to like just ever so slightly rub it on my lips, like a little bit. I don't dare go all the way around my lips because it will be like all over near the corners of my lips if I try to do that. This also has that slight sort of tingling sensation to give your lips that like fuller effect that Buxom is supposed to give. I can make this work for me, but I thought I was gonna love this, but just the way that the packaging is and the size of the product, it just does not work and is a complete fail in my opinion. I feel like they could have made this smaller and this would have been like a really bomb product, but they kind of ruined it with the packaging, in my opinion, of course. After that, that is going to conclude all of my unexpected makeup failures. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Leave me a comment down below and let me know what are some of your unexpected makeup failures. I would love to hear from you guys. Other than that, thank you so much for sticking around to watch today's video, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye.